Hello guys, welcome to episode 2 of this tutorial. In this episode, we are going to create another component in our Blazor application and write, new tests. As I told you, with these different tests and components that I'm going to create, I want to explore the different features of bUnit, the different scenarios. In the previous episode, we talked about components that receive input parameters, and we rendered, a sample patient status component, and we explored two different ways to verify the correct HTML produced by that component. Now, in this episode, I am going to create another component, and that component again is taking some input parameters, but it is also using event callbacks to trigger some event handler in the parent component, and then we are going to write two tests for that component as well. So the name of the component is going to be patient info, so I'm going to go ahead and create this patient info component. Guys, if you want to know more about Blazor, just check out the other playlists that I have on the channel, because as you know, in this series, I am not going to focus a lot on the Blazor itself. I'm going to focus mostly on writing tests. So again, this is going to be a very simple, component. It receives this name input parameter as well as the age. And then it has an event callback. So the event callback is of type string. As you can see, the name is onSelect. And then there is this private method that is going to invoke that event callback and pass the name, the property, to this, event callback. And then the markup of the component is also very simple. A simple div element with a couple of paragraph tags, a button that is bound to that private method. So this is our simple, very simple component. So we've got two, as I said, properties, right? Input parameters. We've got this, event callback. So the parent component of this patient info will be able to pass something to the event callback. So it is able to pass an event handler to that event callback. And then whenever the button is clicked, that event handler is going to invoke using the value inside of the name property, as you can see here. Now, of course, when we're testing this component, we're going to explore two different scenarios. Number one, we want to verify that this component produces the correct HTML. We already explored this scenario in episode number 1, but we're going to do the same thing here as well. And we want to kind of pass, let's say, a mocked version, if you will, of this event callback when we're creating the component to see whether this, component and this, event callback works correctly or not. So basically what we expect to do is that when the user clicks this button here, right, we expect this unselected event callback to be invoked using the value inside of the name. So we are going to simulate that. We are going to simulate a click on this button, right? And then we are going to verify whether this has been invoked using the value inside of the name property. So as always, let me go to my components file. If you remember, we are going to create, let's say, another class. I'm going to call it patient info test. It's going to be a test context. If you want to know more about test context, just watch the previous episode. I'm going to move this file into its move this class into its own file, move type to another code file, and I am going to write the first test of my for my component. So again, it's going to be a very simple test. Renders name and age correctly. Let's use render component type with patient info component. Let me pass some values for the two components. So for name and age, and then let's verify the HTML that the component is going to render. So this is what we expect the component to render. So this is going to be p.name, patient info parameters, add this is not correct. It should be patient info So patient info needs probably a reference. So we're done, right? Okay then. So again, this is very similar to what we did in the previous episode, right? We have created an instance of this component, patient info. We have passed two input parameters, and we are verifying that this component produces the correct HTML. Again, as I told you in the previous episode, I know that we should probably not put, our HTML directly here, right? There are other, there are better approaches. For example, one approach is to not check the whole HTML produced by the component. It is better to, for example, verify some single, elements, like for example the p tags using some CSS selectors. But we are going to refine those. So we are going to refactor our, test code as we progress throughout the course. I don't want to, dive deep into very sophisticated topics up front. I just want to get you familiar with the different, concepts one step at a time. And when we get, familiar with bUnit, we are going to revisit our tests and, refactor them. So this is very simple, right? This is what we used to do in the previous episode as well. I am going to run it, and I will see that the test passes. Now the next test is a little bit difficult, or let's say new, right? So we haven't seen this before. So again, inside the patient info component, there is this button, right? And this button is going to invoke this method. So the onClick event is bound to this private method. And this private method is going to invoke this event callback, as you can see here, with the value inside of the name property. And this event callback is an input parameter, meaning that the parent component of this component is going to be able to pass something, some event handler, some function for this event callback. So what we need to do is to first render this component. We already know how to do that. Then we need to get to this button using some selectors, right? And then we need to click it. We need to invoke a click, let's say event on this button, and then we want to be able to verify whether this function has been, invoked using the value inside of the name property. So this is kind of a behavior, let's say, verification test, if you will. So we are verifying whether the component is behaving the way it should. So we're not concerned with the output of the component. We're not only concerned with the outputs of the component. We want to be able to verify whether this button is going to do what it is supposed to do. So let me take you to patient test. So let me now write the second test, and then we will talk about it. So we're going to create this new test to test that event callback. I'm going to create the selected patient, and then I am going to create that render component. For patient info, let me pass the different parameters. So we're going to pass name and age and that event callback for unselected. And then we are going to set the selected patient that we created above, and we're going to return task that's completed. And then we are going to click that button, and we are going to verify that the selected patient has the value of the name property. So this is again something that we haven't encountered before. Let's go over the code. So I am creating this selected patient, and I am setting null to this, right? Then I am creating the render component for the patient info, and then I am passing the name and age, which is something we are already familiar with, right? And then I am passing an event callback for this unselect. So this unselect is an event callback. It's an input parameter that the parent component of this patient info can set. We are setting this here. So basically we're creating an event callback using factory.create. It is of type string, right? And then this is the reference to the test context class, and this is the lambda expression that we are passing. So we're creating this input parameter for the lambda expression of type name, and then what this is doing is that it is setting the selected patient, as you can see here, to the name that we are receiving as input to this, lambda expression, and then we are returning, task.completed or task.completed task because it is, an asynchronous operation. So basically, we are, controlling the behavior of this unselect input parameter. We're basically saying that whenever this, when this event callback is triggered, what we want to do is to set whatever comes as input, right, to this variable we are, creating here. And now, the next step would be to simulate a click event on the button. So we are going to find the button using the find, method. So this is our, again, CSS selector. We have only one button element on the component. So when we, go with the type of the element, that will return the only button on the component. And then we're going to click it. So we are triggering this click event. And what we expect now, based on what we have defined inside of the component, what we expect now is that this unselect will be triggered, right? And this unselect, we are controlling this, right? We are controlling this. This click will invoke this function, which will trigger that, input parameter. And what it is doing is that it is invoking itself using the value inside of the name property, right? And we are, as I told you, we are controlling that behavior. We are setting the, selected patient, which we defined here, to the input text, input name, parameter coming for the lambda expression that we are setting for this event callback. Now, the assertion is very simple. Because we have passed Bob as the value for the name property, we are going to verify that the same text inside of the name property has been set to the selected patient we have defined above. So if that's the case, we can be sure that this, button, when clicked, is correctly triggering that event callback. So they're wired up correctly. And then I am going to run the test to see if everything is working, and of course, that's the case. Now, I'm gonna wrap up this video here, and again, if you enjoyed watching it, first give it a thumbs up, consider subscribing to the channel, share this playlist with a friend, and also if you want to know more about, Blazor, check out my other playlist, and stay tuned for the upcoming episodes because we're just getting started. There are so many things to explore and learn about bUnit, and we're going to explore them one step at a time in the upcoming videos. So see you in the next one.